Welcome, everybody. I am going to just hand it right over to Caleb and let him share a bit about surround sound. Caleb and Matt, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Deanna. Welcome, everyone. Matt, I'm going to let you take it.
Ooh, yeah. I love it. SurroundBound. SurroundBound. I know we did in that thing. Welcome is, I think we have a whole, we're talking about taking it, I have a question as we're doing this. I see more people come in. I'm going to sit for a second and talk about what the heck is SurroundBound. The last time we did this was, back in February when we first started. And SurroundBound is a full go-to-market play. It is, and I'm just adding everybody I see in. Deanna, you got that? I'm just going to pretend.
I got it.
Okay. It is a full go-to-market play. And the way we talked about the SurroundBound is, and if you go to the next, I'll go to the end state. We'll talk about what we're going to talk about today. And then after this, it'll a bit of a recap of last time. And we'll get the majority of the talking time is by Caleb, and you'll understand why. So, end state of this, I would like for y'all to go back. Actually, I'm going to sit. End state of this, and we'll talk about I want y'all to walk away with understanding what it looks like in a company that is doing SurroundBound, what it looks like for a day in the life of a SurroundBound sales rep. Now, to get there, I think it's important. We need to refresh a bit on the theory and why this is important, why we think this is why we think it's a superior go-to-market, and thus why the tools you have to execute on it. We talk about doing this is not the first time I've done this, but this is the first time we're doing this as a full team, meaning not just me, but the sales team and the marketing team and the CS team. Go through that. Then we hand it to Caleb. And the majority is there. I expect there to be a lot of questions about how we operationalize this. So let's go to the next slide, because this is what we talk about and by the end is Caleb will give a practical walkthrough, very practical. Last time was a lot of theory. Give a very practical walkthrough on how Supered operationalizes SurroundBound as a go-to-market methodology as we scale. And this is not just theory. We are building this as we go. We are betting our houses on it. We're betting. It's why Caleb came here to work, why he's excited. It's why CVP or Chris Van Prague is excited to come here, is because we can finally do it unleashes people in a way. Next, we'll talk. I'm going to sit in this next slide and go from the theory. I'm going to sit here as we talk about the problem. Next slide. I'm going to sit in the problem. We're going to sit here for a bit. And I like what is the problem and why do we need SurroundBound? If y'all remember this, and by the way, there is a full package. We'll actually put it into an external share. All you have to do is click it and you'll get everything after this about reminder. Just what is the problem? Why is SurroundBound needed today? Why do we have to have this? And it is because the B2B behaviors of buyers have fundamentally changed. They're inundated with content, inundated with emails, inundated with calls, email deliverability, email open rates, call open rates, connected rates. Everything is plummeting. So where should you make your strategic bet? And so we have the problem, and the solution is what if every person and every interaction in your company was producing sound? And what if that sound was surrounding us, very specific ICP? What if every person was strategic? Now, I used to be in the military, and I came from this concept, and it is now true today, is we would go out and there'd be a squad, and these squads would be private. They'd be 18-year-olds out there with a weapon, where if they made the wrong choice, it would have a strategic impact on the entire battlefield. So every person is strategic. How do you give people and how do you equip? Because that's what people have. Everybody has a social media. Everybody has this weapon. How do you equip people where they feel comfortable, where they can do this and you can produce, where everybody is surrounding, and so this is more strategic. The next point is supposed to be then is how do you then, every time someone has a question about the topic you're answering, for us, for Supered, it is, we are creating the next generation of elite partners, and we are enabling revenue teams to enforce revenue processes. And that's what we're thinking about doing. Every time somebody has a process that they need to enable in a CRM, how are they thinking about us? Every time you're a HubSpot solutions partner and you need to deliver value, and you need to think about capacity, you need to think about delivery, you need to think about value, you need to think about retention, they think about Supered. Or it's not that they think about it, they can't help but hear about it which forces them to think about it. So we talked about the strategy, the whole theory. We did that last time. There's a whole thing that we spent an hour going through. We'll talk about more. Then I went through, and that is, how do you execute the surround bound play? And it was very practical. Here are the tools that you have to do. How do you find the space you're going to do it? How do you actually make the sound? How do you do surround sound? And then what are tactics you can do to amplify? Now, if you look at Super, we do these things. The tools. We have a CRM. We use Surf on top of that. Find the space. We have very specific ICP we're going after. We go after HubSpot solutions partners. Make sound. Here's a great example. This SurroundBound, it was posted by me, posted by Deanna, posted by Caleb, reshared by Ashley, reshared by Lindsay Smith, reshared by LJ. Everybody posted individually about it. And there was 15 to 20 original specific content coming from everyone in the company that was surrounding this specific event. So there is no way when as part of it, we're thinking about what's happening and what we're thinking through. We then have amplifications of those, which we go to like a podcast, how you do it. Now let's go. Now, how do you build SurroundBound in HubSpot? Go to the next slide. And so what's a day-in-a-day life look for a sales rep? How do you actually do this on the ground level? What does it look like to just get started? This is SurroundBound. And just putting a view is you have this person that's sitting there. And this is a LinkedIn specific motion is every time you send a post, every time you DM, every time you comment on someone's post, every time you champion one of their voices or thoughts, it actually puts them on an algorithm and serves your content for them. And as they're in LinkedIn or they're anywhere they're in social, they will see you and they will see your other people in your company. And so this is how you can start creating this SurroundBound, but it takes everybody posting. It takes deliberate outreach from the sales team. And it takes a very specific disciplined execution of this play, which that's what we're going to talk about today. But it even changes how we have to organize. And we'll talk about some of the problems that SurroundBound creates or the implications it creates. They're not problems. They're just new problems to solve that I think actually create a better way and a more healthier sales culture. Okay, so from this, now I'll give it to Caleb. I did a very quick review, but I'll give it to Caleb. You go to the next slide, Caleb, and you'll start talking about, Caleb, how does this look like as we do it as a team? And the floor is yours.
Awesome. So yeah, now at Super, Matt has done this individually. I think a lot of us have seen him, whether next to him or from the sidelines. Now we're doing it as a team, right? We have 3 full-time account execs, me, Chris, and Blake. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today. So this is what I'll cover. Okay, it has to start with the personal experience. So I'm going to tell my personal story and my personal opinions. And then, so I'll talk about why I love sales, why I hate sales, and why SurroundBound helps with that. Okay, SurroundBound, you'll see this LinkedIn first approach, it begs for a team quota, a change in sales structure, which is actually probably what I'm most excited to speak about today, because everyone talks about the methodology of sales. No one talks about the structure. And I believe it's the structure that influences the behaviors. So we'll talk about that. And then we're going to go real practical. So what does this mean? How do we do it? You've got to talk about commissions. You've got to talk about account distribution. And then I'll show you the tools that I use. All right. Everyone talks about why they hate sales, why they hate salespeople, right? I will actually talk about that also. And I'm a salesperson. But I think it's really important for me to start out with why I'm still here, though, why I love sales. Okay. And this is why, if you do not make a sale, you do not have a business. That's it, right? So making a sale is, I would argue, if not, it is the singular thing that makes a business. So why do I love sales? Because I want to be a part of that. Okay. Now let's talk about why I dislike sales, why I hate it, why I'm fed up with some things. All right. Reason number 1 is the methodology, the traditional sales methodology that people use, that we've been taught, that I've used for years and years. Reason number 2 is the traditional sales system. Every salesperson lives under a system, an organization, a machine. And when I say traditional, what I'm referring to is an individually quoted system. Okay. So let's talk about the methodology. This is the problem. You'll be familiar with this. The traditional sales methodology is call, email, knock, do it at high volume. It's usually cold. You're usually doing it alone, and it's usually way out of context. So I'm trying to establish trust with this person through an email subject line, through a handshake in 5 seconds, through a phone call. I'm trying to establish that context immediately And that's why you get people slamming doors in your face. What's cool and promising about SurroundBound, right? It's a LinkedIn first approach. It is usually it's warm, they've heard of you. This is huge. We're doing it together. Everyone at Supered is in charge, is responsible for creating content, for making relationships, for helping each other. It's not just me running this race. I know that everyone, not just the salespeople, the developers, the co-founders, the customer success folks, we're all in this together. We're all responsible for the revenue of the company, okay? And lastly, it gives you context, right? So a lot of times you'll hop on calls and people know who you are, or at the very least, they've heard of you, okay? So let's move over from the methodology over to the system, right? And this is, again, where I want to sit for a while. SurroundBound as a methodology is problematic. It's very problematic in a traditional individually coded system. Why? Because of attribution. It's dark funnel focused. If we're doing SurroundBound correctly, then multiple prospects are hearing from multiple voices within Supered. And so then when I, as a salesperson, either go to contact them or they come in as a lead, how do you attribute that? How do you give that to a singular salesperson when everyone has influenced them? Okay, so who gets sales credit? So that's a problem. What's our solution? Conveniently, because I've been thinking about this for a long time, conveniently now we use a team quota and commissions. So the easiest way for you to imagine this is through a scenario. Okay, so I'm going to tell a story that has happened to me over and over in my sales career under an individually quoted system. Imagine with me, you are a salesperson. A lead tells you, I want to talk about your product. You rejoice because the hardest part is done, just getting an opportunity, right? It doesn't matter where this comes through. The only background to this is you don't know if it's in your territory or not. So what do? The first question you ask, you're struck with anxiety and you ask, can I work this? Is this in my territory? So you check the CRM, you ask, who's the sales owner? And the sales owner is not me. Then you get super anxious. You request an internal crossover. There are probably a ton of internal sales rules of engagements that you got to sift through. At one former company of mine, it was 3 business days. The owning rep had 3 business days to reject or approve it. 3 business days. That's when the CRM becomes not a living, breathing, useful tool for the company, but it becomes a CYA tool, right? It's just there to cover your ass. Has there been meaningful email activity? Has there been a meeting within the last 20 days? Has there been XYZ? And then what does that lead to? It leads to sales reps spending hours logging fake emails, mass activities, right? And then the HubSpot admin or the admin is pissed because there's no good data. Everyone's messing up the data. All the salespeople are doing things that are fake just to cover themselves. And we're just hoarding accounts, hoping that something will QL. What else does it lead to? It leads to tremendous, vicious, bloody internal fights between salespeople. You have to remember that a salesperson we are feeding our families. So when someone takes a deal that we've worked for and says, this is mine, they're taking lunch off your table. So this gets really personal. It leads into a lot of internal fights, which leads to a degradation of trust and internal culture. Notice what is not happening here in this system. There is no energy being spent on sales. No one is helping the customer to buy. All of the energy is on this internal BS. Notice what else is happening. The customer, the guy or girl that is saying, I want to buy, someone please help me buy. They're waiting for 3 business days while we pretend that nothing's happening and we're just trying to push them off and hope they stay interested, just to figure out if we can work the thing. So that is what makes me aggravated when everyone who is not in a big sales org comes onto LinkedIn and says, sales reps don't solve for the customer. Sales reps are selfish. Sales reps are pushy. Have we lost our human touch? Okay, yeah, yes, I understand. I've met a lot of bad salespeople in my life. I've probably been a bad salespeople, but a bad salesperson. But can you see that it is the system, the sales system that you live under? That's what deprioritizes sales reps solving for the customer. It feels like I've been in this situation, and I'm gonna be honest, it feels like I'm swimming upstream if I want to solve for the customer. I'm prioritizing solving for myself because that's what the system prioritizes. Okay, let's switch over and say, okay, what's the alternative, right? We don't know, but we think it's a team quota. And this is what I'm presenting and what I'm so excited about. So in the same system, under a team quota system, same thing happens. A lead wants to talk. What happens then? I ask, who should work? Not can I work this? Who should work this? Anyone can engage immediately because it doesn't matter. It's all our sale, right? All we have to do is check or add to the CRM to get context. And then the only split second decision we have to make is we just give it to whoever the customer will have the least friction talking to, right? Whether that is time zone, whether that is personal relationship, all we're doing, and it's a split second decision. And sometimes it doesn't even happen because they just get a group meetings link. What are the implications of this? The customer with their felt need gets contacted fast. The customer immediately gets help. Everyone then doesn't have to swim upstream to help solve for the customer. And so this sales system allows the leeway for us to prioritize solving for the customer. Some other really interesting dynamics that you will know if you have been a sales rep under this system, okay? A sales team. You're always put on a sales team, which is a group of individual contributors under a manager that's also an individual contributor. And I have had some really great sales teams and some amazing sales managers, but there's always an inherent friction here. Why? Number one, a sales team in this system is really just a nice gesture. All right. None of us are tied. None of our successes are tied to each other. We can share best practices, but even when you share best practices, you make the decision of sometimes in some really broken systems, should I even share this? This might help them, which means it cuts into my sales. So there's this weird inherent disconnect. We're not tied together. Also, something that happens is if you are losing, it is hard to celebrate your teammates when they're winning if you're losing. So you come to end of the month, you come to end of the quarter, you come to the end of the year, and I am sitting at 25% of plan because I've just gotten punched in the face over and over, which happens in sales. And then in my Slack channel, Matt Bullion is saying, hey, let's give a shout out to Blake Lytle. He's at 4,000% of quota. Isn't our company awesome? Isn't our culture the best? People just want to buy this stuff, right? And so here I am sitting. I'm so happy for you, Blake, right? And so this is a personal journey. I understand there's a lot of personal stuff in this, but it's how do you celebrate that when you're losing, right? Yes, I've gone to a place where I actually think it's important to celebrate others when I'm losing. I do think that, but the system deprioritizes that. And so what actually happens from this is you start resenting. I start looking at CVP and I'm like, he works half the time that I do. He has such a better territory. If I were in his seat, I need his territory. That's the problem. And so whether that's true or not, there's this insidious degradation that happens under the system, okay? What happens then if we're on a team quota? Nothing really, because the sales team is real, right? We are actually, if I make a sale, then you make a sale. We're all the same. Our results are tied to each other. I understand it's a double-edged sword, but I'm willing to take that risk because I've lived under the other system for so long, okay? And we can truly celebrate each other's sale. Your sale is my sale. Someone on my team, if Chris makes 100 sales, it's as if I made 100 sales, right? The last thing here is under a team quota, it's not a decision. We must help each other. We must help each other. It's not a decision of, am I wasting my time? And am I enabling or empowering the competition? No, your success is my success. So by design, it's creating a collaborative culture, okay? Let's take another look. This is probably the most loaded one. And if there are any sales managers listening to this, I'm sorry. And you will never hire me after you see this slide. Territory, right? No one ever talks about this. Everyone thinks about it. This is what it looks like for a sales manager under a traditional system. This is what the sales manager tells you. Your territory doesn't matter. Get it out of your hand. You are in control. Get out of your head. You are in control of your destiny. That is the only thing that matters. This is what every sales rep, and it pains me to think this, even to say this out loud, because I am a firm believer in controlling a lot of the outcome. I've lived in this world for 35 years, and I'm finally able to admit that we cannot all pull ourselves from our bootstraps 100%. They're uneven playing grounds. So the rep is thinking, you're an idiot. How can you not see this? We are targeting SaaS companies. Joe, his territory is Silicon Valley, and my territory is not Silicon Valley. You're telling me that it's all in my control. Territory is real, okay? It is all important. I'm not saying it's the only thing, but if I have LeBron James on my team and I'm the coach and Matt has me on his team, LeBron is going to win a championship 100 times out of 100 times over me. So it is important. And the other thing to think about this is you've got to think about the internal focus and the wasted energy on territory. You'd be surprised at how much energy is spent around politicking, around lobbying, around even just on a personal level of, oh, is it my territory? Is it me? My territory sucks. I wish I had. So all this wasted energy is not going towards what? It is not going towards helping people buy, is not going towards creating opportunities, is not going towards going to market. So the sales team then is spending, I'm not even exaggerating, maybe 50% or more of their energy just thinking about their territory and their opportunity set. What happens on team quota? Nothing. It's ours. Territory is irrelevant. The world is our territory. That's it. So then what happens? There's an external focus, and a sales team can then do what? They can focus on sales. The only question we're asking is, how do we create an opportunity? How do we make a sale for the company? For us, we are the company. So that's a problem. We've made the decision to live under a team quota. I'm very passionate about this, as if you haven't noticed. I'm very excited about living under a team quota, about collaboration by design. But what are some of the practical implications? How do we do this? The first thing.
One thing, Caleb, Ben asked a question. I'm going to read it out loud. I think it's pertinent. We're about to get into the commission, but I just want to say this out loud. I think it's helpful. We take a break because we've done a lot. Here's a good question. If I had a team quota, this has been, what about money/commission? If I had a team quota and I thought one of my team members was a bum, heck, take a vacation or milk a sick day, I'm resentful. Flu season takes someone out, and now my family is taking a staycation this summer because of something outside of my control. So what's your response when this idea of, doesn't a team quota, wouldn't it increase resentment, not increase collaboration?
That's a very real concern, and I don't have an answer to that. And so this is why inherently going on this is a risk, and it is so important. That term hire slow, fire fast, like hiring slow is really important here because you have to trust the people that you're working with. So I wish I had a better answer for you, Ben. I understand this is the group project and someone's a bum and like everyone else is pulling the weight. But why I'm willing to commit to this is because there's so much risk that people don't realize in an individually based quota system. And I've experienced that risk. It is not as easy as, if I work hard, I'm going to make money, that I'm willing to take a bet on other people.
Yeah, and if I can, I'll respond to this for Ben as well. This is my second time doing team quota, so it's not my first time building. And the way that specific thing is executed is, number one, there is something to be said about people rising to expectations and culture. Is if you take a 2-week vacation and the rest of your sales team doesn't know about it, when you get back, everyone's going to be asking, will you fire this person? There is this, hey, instead of, which is really, hey guys, we're taking vacations. Let us support each other. And there's like what you actually see is this collaboration, and people, like, the vacation thing doesn't end up. If there's a poor performer, what happens? The sales team rallies around, because they're still having a one-on-one manager, they're still talking, rallies around, they are trained and helped. And if they're not they still go on a PIP and they still get fired. The difference is the team is on their side. And what happens is bad people get pushed out and good people stay. And it's odd just because there's not as many examples out in the world. It actually is a self-policing system when the culture is there. And I think specifically that's 5 dysfunctions of a team we can talk more deeply about. Okay, there we go, Caleb.
Just to add to that, sales managers are already under this structure at every company. So essentially, we're just making every sales rep a sales manager and just as bought in as their manager is bought in. you're saying, it breeds accountability. It makes people rise to the challenge, and it makes us coach each other and want to coach each other. That's the big one. So I'd just add that there as well.
Awesome. So I'm actually going to show you the commission structure we made. We will share this. We'll share a sanitized spreadsheet. So if you want to do this, great. Blake spent hours and hours building this, and Matt also, but we'll share that with you. I am a firm believer that actually what really matters is numbers. Numbers talk in any system. Just look at what you're getting paid or what they're incentivizing or bonusing or how they're structuring things, and that'll tell you what's important. So this is very important, and we'll share it with you. So a couple components and theories of this, some logic behind it. As a team, the idea is we must win and lose as a team, and the numbers must reflect that. What does that mean? Shared clawback, shared quota, cliff-based accelerators. So the numbers must help us win harder together and lose harder together. What does it mean in terms of money? No cap. Matt, that was you. No cap. Uncapped commissions. Matt edited this before I saw it. Uncapped commissions, right? Unlimited earning potential, risk and reward. So this is something really cool. It's not mandatory, but I've never had it, and we have it here at Super. You give a sales rep 3 options, right? We're all on team quota, but you still give them the power of choice. So how we do it is there is low base, high variable earnings. So high risk, high reward. Then there's middle base, variable earnings, and then high base, low variable earnings. And it's cool. So as a sales rep, we can say, yep, we're on a team, but I still have some agency to figure out what is the risk I'm willing to take based on the reward. And it's built into obviously what the company needs to keep running and be profitable as well. This is a screenshot, okay, of what we're talking about to paint the picture. So if we're on a team-based quota, right, our quota as a team is 27,000 monthly recurring revenue a month, and we're monthly. It's based on dollars paid out on percentage to quota. So we're talking about cliffs here. So what is this telling us? What are these numbers saying to us? This is saying if as a team we sell less than 26%, we are screwed. We're not feeding our families because guess what? The company is in danger then, right? So there's a 40-cent jump between 25 and 26%. And then you'll see these jumps, 12 cents, 11 cents, 15 cents. I'm sorry, that's not 15, that's 5 cents. But then where's the next really big cliff, right? What keeps us from sandbagging? What keeps us from pushing things? There's another big jump here. So it's incentivizing you to lose harder together and win harder together. Keep pushing and say, hey, no, we get paid more together if we get to 106, if we get to 126. And that's what this looks like, okay? So that's team commissions. Now let's talk through the actual practicality. How do you distribute accounts? So in real life, if some sort of inbound lead comes in or a referral, if someone refers something to me or someone else on our team, who works it? That's the big one. Who gets to work it? The answer is, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. We're on a team. All that matters is if it's not just booked on a meetings link, then all you do is you ask, who gives the customer the greatest buying experience? Is that based on speed to availability? Is it based on personal relationship? All we're asking is where's the least amount of friction? Who gives them the best buying experience? And then you send it, okay? What about the other half of the equation? Account distribution. So how do we make sure that we're talking to enough people and the right people as a team? How do we target? Okay, so this is what we've done at Super. We've divided into 3 tiers. So tier 1, again, remember we are targeting HubSpot solutions partners. So we all sat down and we said, everyone choose a minimum of 25 target accounts, 25 companies. And the only logic, we'll give you some suggestions, but the only logic you have to use is who will most likely buy from me that is qualified. We review this quarterly, and those are our target accounts. Then there's tier 2, which gets into what we call signal-based targeting. So tier 2 is very specific for us. Who in the HubSpot ecosystem has up-tiered recently? Because for Super, that's who we help. And that is there are a lot of key indicators underneath that may indicate that they would be hungry for something like Super at this point. What's the logic? It's actually very simple. You just split it 3 ways. You distribute it evenly among reps. And the question isn't around who's getting the best accounts, which is the traditional question. The only question is who is taking the lead on this. so that we make sure that we're talking to enough of the right people to create enough opportunities for our goals. How's the timing for this? It's monthly because this comes out every month. Tier 3, signal base. Who is giving an intent signal? So what's a signal base, right? For us, it's LinkedIn interactions. It's people talking in communities that we're part of, forums we're part of. It's someone saying they're hiring because Super helps with growing without headcount, scaling without headcount, attending webinars. So it's all these different interactions. And this happens every day, right? We're always looking for this. And I will add to this, this is where SurroundBound is beautiful, where it's not just the sales team. Of course, we're specialized in this. This is our main job. But I'm asking Lindsay Smith, I'm asking LJ, I'm asking Ashley, I'm asking Steve. Like, I'm asking people, like, I can't be staring at LinkedIn all day. I do block time out for that. I can't be staring at these things all day. But if you see something, put it in our channel, let us know. And then one or all of us will go after it because it doesn't matter, right? We're surrounding this person. We just want to make sure that this person gets some love from us. Okay. What does this look like? A day in the life of a sales rep. I'll say most good sales reps in history have always blocked time every day to prospect. Traditionally, prospecting means networking meetings. It means phone calls. It means emails. It means those types of things. So this is where SurroundBound kind of changes things for me. I still block time for prospecting, but now what do? I block time for LinkedIn. That is my prospecting, LinkedIn. Is it sales? Is it marketing? Is it networking? It's all of those things. It doesn't matter what you call it. That's what I block time for. This is my time dedicated to LinkedIn. So how do I think about that? I spend time reading first and foremost. Then I spent time commenting, right? And I put these two first because I actually think these are as, if not more important than posting. The power of LinkedIn is locked in when you tap into conversations and engage with ideas rather than saying, hey, here's what I think, here's what I think, here's what I think, here's what I think. No one really, some people might care what you think. It's more interesting when you ask questions about what other people think so that you can have a better opinion yourself. And then, of course, there is still a baseline of posting, right? That is critical to this. Matt talks about how he thinks about posting in the former webinar or seminar, but really basic. I give myself a minimum threshold of 3 times a week. I do this very organically. I want to keep it that way. If I'm inspired, I will write about something or write it down in a note. And then, of course, there's direct messages too. More directed messages saying, hey, we've interacted. I think we know each other. Let's talk about this. Do you want to talk about this? So I'm going to walk through and close up with kind of.
Right before we go to this, I just want to put this so everybody sees it and notes it. If you go back to that next slide, so what when you think about SurroundBound and you think of what we're doing is the sales team, what's the difference like this? If you look at these things, the sales member is doing what? Yes, they're, like you said, they are content creators. We just got off I was talking to CVP. He just put this he created a whole piece of content that is really good, talking about the package builder, push button deployment, and the difference between it. Something you would pay money that marketing would do. And he said this, he's like, Matt, every other place I've ever been, LinkedIn has felt like an extra thing. And any content I've made, I just do it because I like it. But it has been like, I'm putting some personal brand and something extra that I'm doing for me. But now this is a part of what I'm doing and I feel more unleashed. And there's something that said is what you're seeing is just a bigger trend happening. The blurred lines, which is a song we don't talk about, but the blurred lines between sales and marketing, where the strategic, and this is one thing we have talked about is what happens if CVP, then the sales team says the best way to hit our quota, if CVP, you produce 5 videos a month and you only take this many calls, I want you producing it because it's producing more leads. Caleb, you're the person that's going to do the demos, the reverse demos, and Blake, you're the best at closing. And what happens if we dynamically create a team based on that? So what it does is whatever's best works. I just bring that out. Next, this is ABM. This is account-based marketing executed by a sales team, executed by the rest of the company. Okay, so it's an evolution. Okay, so just go there. Now, what does it actually look like day to day? You're going to do it like the tools, but I'll give it back to you.
So I'll give you 2 scenarios. I'm actually going to show you the tools that I use. One for a tier 1 account, which if you remember are target accounts, and one for a tier 3, which is signals. So a couple of tools I use, this is evolving, but this is what I'm using now. SalesNav, HubSpot, and a tool called Surf. Okay. So I'll show you. If I go into SalesNav, the first thing I do is create an account list. right? These are my 26 accounts of partners that I think are a good fit, okay? Then what you do is you find the contacts, the leads within them, 5, 4, however many people within each account, and I put them on this list. Why do I do this? All for the purpose of notifications, right? So Sales Nav has the advantage of being able to tell you when someone that you're prioritizing has posted, when the company has posted, when they've interacted with something, when they've changed jobs, something like that. So this is my targeted home base of how do I interact specifically with the people that I think are good fits for Supered that I want to talk to. Okay, so I spend time doing this. In HubSpot, what does that look like? Because it's got to get into your CRM. This is a perfect use case for exactly what it's called, target accounts, right? So if I look at my target accounts here, then I can track them and see who I've talked to, who the contacts are, and the whole company can see that. It's not living in my just LinkedIn now, all right? Now, what's important, what you'll find in this process is it will eventually lead you to their LinkedIn profile, right? And then what you'll find is the problem that happens is you will immediately realize my LinkedIn, because this is where I'm doing the majority, if not all of my prospecting, has to be connected. It has to be my CRM. It has to be connected to the activity and context of what's going on or what's happened that I haven't done, is not held in my memory. So if I'm in Karen's page here, this right here is where Surf comes in. You can see the extension here. Surf is this tile right here. And so what it does is I look down, I'm saying, hey, I want to talk to Karen. Have we talked to them? Has Matt talked to them? Has Blake talked to them? And so this is my window into the CRM. This Surf is telling me, hey, no, Karen's, she's not in your CRM. So all you have to do is add her as a contact into your CRM and she's there, okay? This will immediately serve a couple of other things, but that's the first step where Surf becomes critically important because you need to link your CRM and your LinkedIn. The second scenario then is, okay, let's say I've posted, I'm commenting, I'm engaging on comments. I want to see who's engaging. And those are my tier 3 signals, right? So I'm on my notifications page. I say, oh, I want to interact with these people. Eventually, it will still lead you back to their profile page, right? So let's just imagine Chris isn't my colleague and we want to work. I want to talk to him. So first thing that I want is context, right? Because SurroundBound presents a problem in that there will be overlap in messaging because we're surrounding people, right? There's overlap. But the problem then is, how do I give the customer a good experience and not just say the same thing that Blake just said to them or Ashley said to them or Matt just said to them? So we need the context. And so now I can see Chris, oh, he actually is our CRM. Again, this is pulling from our HubSpot. I can surface through Surf what fields I want to see initially. But really important is, because LinkedIn will not become your CRM, HubSpot has to do that. But this is the conduit. So if I click view in HubSpot or whatever CRM, then it will take me to HubSpot and it'll take me to activity timeline. And now I can see how my LinkedIn DMs, anyone's LinkedIn DMs, as long as they've synced them, will be in here, right? And the only thing you gotta make sure is toggled on is LinkedIn under communication. So now I can see, oh no, someone at CVP has been talking to them. It doesn't stop me from talking to them. It just gives me context into talking to them. And the last thing is, how does that actually work? So if I'm talking to Chris and I want to message him, you can see this was recorded, but Surf will piggyback off of this. And it will, if he's not in our CRM, it'll say add to CRM. If the messages aren't synced, it won't sync automatically, which actually is a good thing. You can hit sync or disable sync, all right? A couple of other things that I found useful with Surf is right here, if I'm talking to people, then I can just create a task straight from here to remind me and access my tasks here. Hey, reach back out to him. I can look at notes through here, and there are templates. Of course, I'm a strong believer in AI for doing mundane things, and I'm a strong believer in AI for not doing personalized things. And I believe that sales outreach should be personalized, especially under SurroundBound, because SurroundBound by nature is lower volume than traditional and is deeper than traditional. Okay, so that's it. That's how I use Surf. That's what when you are using a LinkedIn first approach, you have to have a tool like Surf because you can't ignore. You have to have a CRM. You have to surface information in your LinkedIn from your CRM. That is all I have to say We are going to open up for questions or comments now, if anyone has any.
Anyone else got any questions?
I have a question. Here's just questions that I know come just to ask them. You talked about clawbacks, Caleb. How does a clawback work? And what does that mean? How does it work in a team-based system?
It's similar to any clawback. So there's a time frame that you set, let's say 6 months. If this person cancels within 6 months, then it hits your number. And how we're doing at Super, different orgs do it differently, but all it does at Super is, let's just say they paid us $3,000 and we got credit as a team for $3,000 in January. And then in March, they claw back or they cancel. That just means in March, our quota retention is negative 3,000 to start with, and that will affect the commissions. I've had the same exact system at 2 of my other companies I worked for. I think HubSpot's doing it that way now, but the only difference is now it's if Blake sold something and it claws back, now it hits me. But the opposite side is when Blake sold something, I got paid on it. So it's just a team mentality.
This is from Matt Furman. He says, are there any drawbacks to team quotas? I'm hearing a lot of upsides, but what are you worried about when you're doing this? What are the bets you're making?
I think it goes back to Ben's question. The biggest bet you're making is on the other people alongside you. But I will come back to saying there's inherent risk in being under a traditional sales system. And I'm gonna be honest, and again, sales managers will hate me for saying this, but the biggest risk you run into in an individual sales system is, what if your opportunity set is terrible? If your territory is terrible, you have no say over that. And that is arguably the biggest factor out of your control to your success. So to counteract that, then now on a team, yeah, I'm taking a risk. I'm making a bet on people, which I would actually always bet on people over a system. By nature, that's what I want to believe in. If I'm proven wrong, I still want to believe in betting on people over a system. But that takes away the risk of that. Well, what territory? It doesn't matter. It's all the same opportunities. We're just betting on each other, saying, are we accountable to each other for working hard? And the vacation question, everyone should take time off. We'll just burden that responsibility together.
A couple of questions come out of this is curious. So how does you calculate it as opposed to a unique finance ops challenge? I'll answer that one. I find it much easier, quite honestly. So in a traditional places, often you have these very convoluted individual plans. Sometimes people have negotiated different plans within. And I have found it's actually very difficult many times for someone to even know how much money they're going to make by the end of the month. So I found in comp plans, individuals seem to be very complicated because they're solving for all these territory questions and deal splits. And what if I didn't give in time? And there's all these if then thises that are added to these comp plans that make them very difficult to understand. This team quote is actually very simple. What did we hit as a team? Based on the percentage, it auto calculates what you're going to make. It's just one input and it dictates everything. Very simple. Next point is Chris. This is from Chris. How do you transition into this? In my experience, people managers can love the idea, period. There'd be a large amount of change management required to do it. How would you do something like this? Besides, quit your job and go to a company that's thinking about it.
I don't know the answer to that question, so I'm not going to answer. I proposed it to Matt because I knew he'd done it before. One day he said, we're doing it. And I said, great. And then we did it. So Matt, maybe you're a better answer, or Matt or Blake, you guys are better at answering.
So this will be the way I'd answer this question, Chris, is team commissions can only come from top and you into events, and there's change management. It's easier to do when you're smaller, more difficult when you're larger. Reality is this is not something accepted because there is not a lot of example. Tesla did this. Tesla actually changed this model, just an example. But Tesla's done a lot of things that are very counterintuitive to people, and often they said they're going to fail at every stage. So this is like team quotas. I think team quotas in this way is something that if it's work, it's going to take another decade before it becomes like someone's thinking about it. So how do you transition to this? It can only, my opinion is it's only if it starts and done at the beginning. It'd be very difficult to change this in mid-stroke for people, period. Tesla did it. So you would have to, who did that? Elon decided one day that he didn't like what individual commissions was doing to this company, and he just switched it. And it takes crazy people to do things like that. Not further words.
Yeah.
And that's the best example.
To add to that as well, like big companies are doing this within new teams they're creating. So like HubSpot has a service hub and CMS hub specialist team. They're all on team quota. So you're already seeing large
Yep.
companies testing this with new teams they're creating. For existing teams, it'd likely have to roll out by pod. So each team would have their own quota. But it'll be interesting to see where the market goes, because even HubSpot's doing this internally with their CS team and overlay teams.
That's a really good point. But you can't it has to be pilot. Anything that is different like this must be taken outside the work often, innovated and brought in. So it's going to be pilot, pods, tested, executed. Question was, the question's about recruiting. Will this affect the quality of reps you're able to bring in? Some elite sellers might prefer individual quota and not want to post content. So it might limit the pool of reps. What's your thought about this, Caleb?
Yes. Yeah, initially, yes. Some elite reps might not want to post content and want an individual quota. Yeah, you're right. But if we're betting our company on SurroundBound, they're not the right rep. So the answer to your question is yes. Is it hard to find people to do this? Yes. Is it hard to find people, period, for any generic sales role? Yeah. That's why so much churn happens. So it's not like the system is working so well for elite sellers as it is. It's just we've decided that this is how to build a traditional system, and the system takes priority and it churns people out. And we're just optimizing for the system, not the people. Just churning people out. And companies, when you look at the number, I've been at companies where I look at the comp plan and I'm like, oh, like it doesn't matter if I'm here 1 year or 10 years, you built for your system, which at a certain scale, maybe you do that. But yeah, the answer to your question is yes, it's hard, but that's inherent in the risk that we're taking.
Yeah. My response to that, CDP, is just as a point is the elite sellers. This will be the idea is I can make more money somewhere else. I'm going to go there. And I think there's been broad understanding that OTs are fake. And what matters a whole lot more is, do you believe in the product? Do you believe in the place? Do you believe in the people? Do you believe in the culture? And you will find happiness not in money. You'll find happiness in executing, doing something hard with lots of people. I think the best elite sellers understand that, and they understand what questions to ask. And when they do interviews, they ask questions about comp, and they ask a lot of questions about product, just as a point. And so elite sellers actually just know how to qualify where they're going to work because they want to build in a product they can sell. So that's my experience of.
I would even take that a step farther and say some of these elite reps are actually just really good at gaming the system, not necessarily better at selling. I've worked at companies where we had our top performer get fired because they found out he found a way to double punch deals. So he was like 100% above anybody else for 8 months. And then finally we hired sales ops and they're like, he's double closing deals. So he's getting paid out twice. And that's why he's doing better than everybody else. So I'd almost argue some of those people you don't even want on your team and you don't want anywhere near them because they're just really good at gaming the system, not necessarily selling.
And I would say that I do want to make a point on that because yes, it's true. That is a very real skill, gaming the system, but gaming is very real in anything, in school, in business. And so it's not, but I would say that is a perfect example of where if you're thoughtful about how you design the system, then you encourage the right behaviors. It's not that person's fault. It's not a character flaw in that person. Maybe a little bit if he's doing something dishonest, then it is. But a system, you will go where the game tells you to go. And that's why I think the system is so important.
Chris asked another question about signal tracking in CRM. So you have a tier 3. What is a signal track? How are you doing that? How are you putting the note inside the CRM? How do you know it's happening? That's part of this.
Good question, Chris. We are building that right now. I don't have much to say. It is manual right now for me.
Yeah. My response to this is, and this is again, building is, I think we are underutilizing Surf and putting notes inside Surf. And so it is sort of like what you saw Caleb do was go in, click, open up HubSpot, when potentially, and a much quicker way would be to say, here's the note that like, here's the signal I saw, here's what I did. You put the link in, and then so that's tracked, and then adding somebody like, hey, by the way, here's a thing if somebody's there. Period. we will be building whatever we need to execute that system. That's my thought today. Okay, we have 3 minutes left. I'm looking at these questions. If there's anything else. Okay, so here's a question is, what hearing is this? Is what's the difference now between a full cycle? What does this do to the sales? If this becomes larger, what does this do to the sales role? Do you have, what's the difference between an SC? What's the difference between an AE? What's the difference between a BDR? And how do you put that in the context of this team commission?
It's just everyone's full cycle, right? You can differentiate like what Matt's discussion, if organically you find out that Blake is greater at creating content and generating leads and then passing them off to me. So you have the freedom, but it really is just, we're all full cycle, right? But I've been full cycle everywhere that I've been a salesperson. It's just some places I've had the bonus of a BDR pounding the phones but it wasn't really very helpful anywhere I've been either. So I've always been full cycle.
Yeah, this is what you start to see is often systems and how things are set up reflects implicit opinions. And so one of the implicit opinion I think that I may have in the system is the world's moving where the BDR shouldn't give a deal away. They should have the ability to go all the way through. And an AE shouldn't expect that their deal's coming from SDR. So what does that mean? Is there's a blurred line between marketing and sales. There's a blurred line becoming between BDRs and AEs. And is there really a difference? No, it's we work as a team to execute a mission and we do and we get better together. And there's a propensity towards some people love creating content, some people don't. One's helping each other get better. Some people know how to create urgency and feel very comfortable asking yes, no questions. Others don't, but you're helping pull those people. And that full cycle really means when you're out for vacation, I got your back. Okay, we are at time. We have 1 minute left. I will say as we're putting this together is SurroundBound is a different way of thinking about a common problem. And that problem is how do I get sales? And it's a response to how buyer changes have switched. And we're doing a different go-to-market motion that requires a different system. It's also a response to perhaps bad experiences we've had in a traditional system, an attempt to answer it with the opportunity to answer it based on what we see that's changing. And there's new tools that we have to have. You have to have a CRM and you have to have a translation layer between LinkedIn or whatever social media you're using for this. And so that's why we are using Surf. And that's why we believe in it. And we have to have it or this would be very painful to execute on. What you'll have after this full recap, we'll turn this into a bunch of snippets as well as we're putting out. There'll be a full recap. This video will be on our YouTube. And we will have an open, externally shared Supered card that you don't need Supered even to access. You'll be able to have. It'll have this presentation. It'll have the first session, the second session. It'll have both PowerPoints from them. It'll have the team commission, the actual structure we use that's sanitized that you can use you can see the calculations to build, along with some more helpful points. If you need anything, let us know. Until next time, stay awesome. Keep doing it big. Stay super, everybody. Adios.
Bye, everyone.